Hello everybody, welcome back to the Additives YouTube channel. Today we are doing a Zoom interview with Christina Fuges, Editorial Director of Mold Making Technology magazine and social media expert. And then we also have Brian Whitaker, our technical manager for the IDECO Pro 360. So today we're going to be talking about Amerimold Connects. We're all very excited about it. It's one of the first virtual shows anyone's ever done, so I'm ready to dive into that. And then also, Brian has some questions about mold maintenance during these times right now and kind of what's going on in the industry. So let's jump right into it. So during these times right now, things are very interesting and we're all having to be very creative about our jobs. So what should attendees and exhibitors expect for Amerimold Connects?
A lot. It's been an interesting journey so far because, as you guys know, that it was so important that, community, connection, and content are so important to the mold manufacturing community all these years. So just because COVID-19 canceled our live in-person event, there was just, which breaks my heart, by the way, because we've been doing it since 1999, but there was no way we weren't going to let the industry or not provide the industry a way to learn and network, because that's what we've done all these years. And there's really no direct competitor in that space, for this community. So our internal events team, which is led by Allison Klein-Miller, has been amazing because I can't believe how quickly we pivoted from an in-person event to a remote events model. And we are really excited about it. So in terms of a snapshot, as you can imagine, no one really doing this, it's evolving every day, but every phone call with every exhibitor that is signed on, and a registration, by the way, is clicking up too, and we've only been promoting it for 2 weeks. I mean, that's how fast things are changing. But so it's this remote events platform. We're gonna have a bunch of live events that people are gonna be scheduled. I think they're at 9 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 1 o'clock, and 3 o'clock on that June 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th. So it goes from the 9th to the 13th, which is a Saturday. So the middle of the show, we're gonna have live events to get people to come on. And then throughout the entire 5 days, there's a whole bunch of on-demand content. So we're engaging people. We want them to come on and register. And then they create a show planner through Map Your Show, which is the platform we're building this on, which most people, if you go to IMTS or MPE or Amerimold itself, is built upon this platform. It's just the virtual aspect is new. So everybody's, I think, is used to the show planner aspect, but building this virtual aspect to it is different. So it's evolving. So we have live sessions on sourcing, on supply chain, on data management, like data across the whole mold making supply chain. We're gonna have the American Mold Builders Association do a live session on one of their COVID roundtables. We're trying to get the Canadian Association of Mold Makers. AMT is going to come speak about IMTS and other trends related in the metalworking space. The Plastics Association is going to come talk about trends in plastics, and NPE 2021.
Cool.
A panel of 30 best practices in 30 minutes is going to be a live panel with past Lead Time Leader Award winners. Our annual Lead Time Leader Award presentation is going to be live. The debut of our top 10 reasons to be a mold maker t-shirts. We have a creative way. We just discussed today how we're going to do this virtually.
I was going to ask about that. That's one of my favorite shirts.
It's
I still have mine from last year.
Well, you should wear it during the event when you come to the event.
Yes.
I'm sure you've seen the different virtual, people are getting creative with videos, on YouTube. Well, we brainstormed a way that we can kind of do similar things with the t-shirt involving a lot of people. So I think it's going to be fun how we're going to unfold or unveil the top 10. So it's a lot of that. We're trying, what's exciting is a chat mechanism. So, mold making and Amerimold has all been about connection and kind of conversation, networking. So there's going to be a chat mechanism one-on-one with exhibitors where people can schedule a chat with somebody, or say Additives, you are an exhibitor, we thank you for that. You can actually have someone in your showroom, schedule time so people can come in there and schedule a time to chat with you right then and there live, or schedule a time if no one's available to chat. And we are now working on a forum. So we're going to have hopefully channels of content. And within these channels, We're going to have opportunities for people to come in and ask questions, and just kind of talk, about what's going on. So we're hoping that's going to take the place of the live in-person stuff that we're all used to.
Wow, that's all sounds really exciting. And what I think it's really cool about to look at a positive throughout all of this, I feel like personally, I've learned a lot about myself and my creativity that I didn't even know really existed, because it's like everybody has to sit down and really think outside the box. And it sounds like you guys have really done that to just make this as rich and, content filled as possible. So I think that's awesome. I'm really excited about it. We're really excited. We're planning all of our content and what we're going to be putting up and doing. So,
and you guys know what you're doing that way too. So I'm kind of excited to see, we are all excited to see what the exhibitors come to the table with, because it's on you too, right? To get creative, to attract the attendees to your showrooms, really.
Definitely. So yeah, I'm excited. So what are some challenges you faced planning it? Obviously there's been challenges with all of this.
The biggest is just time. And even though I would have to say, since it's built on that Map Your Show platform, like I said, that I think most people are familiar with on the show planning side. So we were a little bit a step ahead, but the time that we've had to turn this around, I was laughing the other day. I'm like, oh my gosh, we can totally relate to the lead times like mold builders have to deal with. Like, we're turning this around in 6 weeks, which, think about it. We develop a show, as soon as one ends, you're already planning the next one. So a lot of the content my job was done. I just needed to show up at Amerimold in June. And now you had to totally rethink, how do we do these conversations and these presentations in a virtual environment? So that's been the biggest challenge, is really everyone, it's been all hands on deck in that events department for this. But we did have a little bit of edge. So I would say the biggest challenge is just time. And who can't relate to that, right? Time.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because a lot of people are like, oh, we're all at a home, time is endless, but it's really not. I feel like we're constantly doing things, having conference calls, Zoom meetings, talking about this and that. And so I completely understand that time is definitely, because it came so fast. I mean, everything, it just happened. So yeah, I can definitely see how that would be the biggest challenge. So what are you most excited for Amerimold Connects? Part of everything you just explained, really.
Yes. Well, the two things I would say three things. What Brian said, the top 10 t-shirts is always so fun because this industry is nuts and they're so witty and they're so wise and so witty, right? But what the answers you get, I just love that. So I think I'm excited about that we can continue that. And I think we're going to wrap it around some contests too. Like, people, typically we're giving out t-shirts at our mold making technology booth, but we're not going to have a booth. We can't give out t-shirts. So we're coming up with creative ways to engage attendees and they can win t-shirts. So I'm excited about that. I'm excited about the forum and the chat mechanisms, because I do believe if we can pull that off, that is something we can build upon for, think about it. If Amerimold Connects can become Amerimold Reconnects, and we can do this a few times a year and get people to engage virtually, because this is not going away anytime soon, right?
No.
But the biggest thing is the lead time leader. So our annual, what we call our Mold Builder of the Year, our lead time leader award ceremony, it has been really interesting to put together the story on a shop virtually. Like, typically we go on site, we do a video on site, we shoot the cover, we get images. The cover's different, the video's different, everything had to be done a different way, because we couldn't go visit them and they didn't even have their shop open to us at the time. So I'm excited about celebrating them virtually too. I think we're going to come up with kind of interesting ways to make that happen. So they're the three main things I'm excited about.
That's awesome. I think also another thing about this that we could see as a positive is, you guys now, once this is done, you have done it. You know how to run a virtual show. You know the ins and outs, the kinks, kind of how to do it. So when we do go back to normal, we're at trade shows and we're all seeing each other, this is something that we can incorporate into our industry, is more virtual talk, because social media is becoming a bigger thing. I remember when I started and I laughed that we had a Twitter account.
Right.
I was like, the plastics industry's on Twitter, really?
Yeah.
And they are. having conversations all the time. So I think that that's a huge positive out of this, is now it's kind of forcing the industry, like, hey, things are virtual, like conversations can happen online. So I think
and you
that
know
that's
what's evident
positive
about that too? So since COVID and all these mold builders that are involved in these COVID related projects, for the longest time, like you, I thought the most people that were on social media were the suppliers to mold builders and molders, right? The Makinos, the Additives, you know, people like that. But
Right.
since they have stories to tell about what they're accomplishing with this tooling they're making in 3 days that would typically take weeks, they are using, I can't believe the amount of mold builders that are on LinkedIn now and on Twitter sharing those stories, and that are open to talk to me on camera. So I mean, it has opened up a whole new world that it's not going to go away. I think they're getting used to sharing that way. I think it's awesome for us. Awesome.
I agree, and that's something I kind of took away from the interview that that Nick, Pete, and Brian did, was tell stories. That is the best thing for the industry, for sales, for anything. It's just tell stories. So I think that that's been a huge positive, is I've been learning things about things I didn't know about at all. I don't know a lot about, mold building. I don't know a lot about texturing and all these things. So I just think that that's been a huge positive. So last question from me, a bonus question. What's your marketing from home tip? What's been like something that you've been doing a lot since this started that you think has kind of driven traffic?
Yes, it's video. You can't be afraid of the camera. Like, you can't be afraid of, our videographer, Austin, who's awesome, but he has showed us how to do what I call down and dirty, like this. It's all about what you're saying, the content, and not so much how it looks, right? We all can get wrapped up in doing cool things or having this high production value. You just have to not be afraid to turn that webcam on and, just like you just said, tell a story, tell what your day was like, because everybody right now, everybody can relate to each other, which is another positive, right? So that's it. Don't be afraid of turning the camera on and just talking.
Yeah, definitely. That's kind of been my goal through this, is to build my on-camera presence, because I really don't like being on camera at all, to be quite honest. I get very nervous. So, but I feel like every time I do a Zoom interview, it's a little easier. So, and you're, like we've said, this isn't going away. So
not going away. You
just got to do it. And I feel like I have been building my skills, which is good to see.
Well, you seem natural. It's all about just, every time everybody asks, and I'm like, just be yourself. Like, don't, just relax about it.
Right.
Just relax.
Right. Exactly. So, all right. Well, I'm excited for Amerimold Connects. This is going to be exciting and different and very cool. So I'm going to pass off to Brian now to ask you about mold maintenance.
Ooh, yes.
Yeah. But before doing so, obviously we're super pumped for Amerimold Connects. We've had internal discussions about all the exciting avenues that we want to take. And I do think you're both correct. I mean, this is, for me, I'd say 80% of my job is travel, doing demonstrations and training and whatnot. So a lot of, well, I shouldn't say a lot, myself and our other tech managers have had the challenge of, okay, now we have to provide the virtual support. So it is kind of cool though. Like, we did a trial that was in California and Texas the same day. We didn't have to travel, and that didn't take up a whole week. We did it in an afternoon. So I am excited for it, and I'm really excited for this show and what you guys bring to the table. So I just had a few questions. Obviously, you talked to a lot of guys in mold making and in mold builders and whatnot. I talked to some of my customers that are in tool rooms and whatnot. So I just wanted to learn a little bit about what you're hearing and versus what I'm hearing. So one of the things that I thought of was, have you seen any significant shifts in the facility? More so focusing on preventative maintenance.
On maintenance. I know there's a couple things I noticed. The two main things are just with shops or facilities that have had to close, right, or be idle. I'm hearing and they may not have shut the molds down properly. I mean, think about that time, what happened. I mean, for some people, it was literally get out, close the door. So I know that tooling needs inspection and needs preventative maintenance as they ramp back up. So that's one aspect of it. I'm still kind of waiting to hear. And now since scheduling this interview, I am making sure that's a part of all my questions to the shops directly, because maintenance is such a strong part of the industry, of the process, no matter what. But it's making me think more. I'm kind of honing in on that now. The other aspect is, and I've heard this recently this week, there are more companies getting involved in these COVID projects or in the medical field that they don't process for that field. And I can't remember who the company was, but they are, I guess, pounding those tools, right? Because there's an urgency, and they have had to seek out, and I think they're Googling it. They're finding companies to help them learn how to maintain the tooling properly. So I was like, whoa, I wasn't even thinking about that. So there's like a source for you, is to find out who are these companies, because there's a lot of them that are not in the medical space at all. Right. So I think they're the two things that I've been hearing a lot about in the past couple weeks are those two things. So there's going to be
like everybody's kind of getting into things that they never thought they would. You know what I mean? Who would have thought in January they would be making things for the medical field?
Exactly.
Yeah. Very interesting.
They might not know anything about molds.
Right.
Yeah. Now, I've heard both sides. That's the reason why I asked that question. I had one guy that, in sales, you're always calling people, making calls, and you never get a hold of the guy, never responds back. And this guy picked up my phone call finally after a year. And I was like, hey, man, how's it going? Like, you answered my call? He goes, yeah. He goes, it's the busiest slow time I've ever had.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Because a lot of their production went down, and he goes, but I'm using it. I went to my boss and said, look, I now have the opportunity to catch up and get everything where I want. So when we're at 80, 90, 100% capacity, I'm golden. On the flip side of that, you mentioned those guys that just had to just cease operation. You couldn't shut down properly. I had a couple calls actually cancel on me because their end customer said, hey, you got to fire up production. Let's go. And so they did. And these machines have been running 24/7 for the last, decade. And when they went to go fire them up, like everything was breaking. So they were like, we can't do any calls. Like we're just having massive fires to put out everywhere. So I've heard it on both sides. So that's why I was kind of interested in it.
It's making me, I should probably do a blog and even tag you guys in that, or all those mold maintenance suppliers, and put a call out for that. Like, is anybody struggling with what to do with that aspect? Now that they're designed and built, you're running them. Now what?
Right. Yeah.
Right.
But I can also see, it's one of those staffing issues. A lot of companies are slowly onboarding and bringing more and more of their employees back, but they're like, like one guy said, our purchasing is not essential right now. We have all the supplies that we need. So unfortunately that position was furloughed, but, so it's kind of a struggle. Like, yeah, the maintenance guys, you talk to them, they're like, yes, this is a great time. However, I'm not allowed in my own building. Yeah. So, it's a delicate balance, but
it is.
But so I guess one of the other questions I had, speaking of those that are experiencing increased production, or maybe you had mentioned going down a different avenue, what's a good piece of advice you might give somebody that it is, I guess, more slammed at the moment? A little bit busier than usual?
Wow. I keep hearing you got to focus on planning. I mean, you've got to embrace these new ways to communicate. It is collaborating. There's even shops which I find this pretty impressive, but I guess it's in their nature. They don't say no, but they built their network of other shops that help them fulfill that job. So it's collaborating, communicating. You got to plan. Spend any kind of downtime or slow time to learn and training. I don't think I'm hearing that enough. I hope that's happening more, that they make that a priority. And I guess that and leadership. I keep hearing leadership. Like, if it's that whole top-down thing, like leadership and communication are the only ways you're going to get through this. It's not going to be it's just not going to be the same old anymore. It's just not. It's not for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'd say even on my end, like planning, I very honestly used to never plan the Plastics Proud blog until like that month. I'm like, okay, I'll start like seeing who I'm going to have and, whatever. Now I have like through July, like planned, I have interviews, know who I'm going to talk to. And again, another kind of beneficial thing for me, I think, just kind of planning. So I think that that's great advice for everybody. Plan, think ahead, because you have to.
Yeah.
While you have the time, which
while you have the time. Right.
a resource we can't replenish. So
Right.
on the flip side of that, what might you say to somebody, we just hit on this a little bit, but on the flip side of increased production, it's somebody that might have seen a significant reduction. Maybe they haven't taken on a new line for face shields or face masks or any other PPE gear, and I guess I would preface that by saying, if they do still have some employees that are allowed to work, what would you give
Right.
those facilities? What would be a good piece of advice?
I would think, and you're probably hearing this a lot too, like now's also the time for especially those shops to, I remember this from back in the recession, like diversification. They got to start, which kind of is wrapped into planning. They got to start looking, if you're not involved in the medical, and maybe you don't want to be, but it's at least is it opening your eyes to, do you have all your eggs in one basket? And I'm still surprised so many of them still do. Like when things are good in automotive, that's all they do. But so diversification. And again, if it's that slow and people, you've got a training and you got to start looking at, I'm noticing the shops that are doing well, believe it or not, I guess it won't be a surprise, are the ones that, are taking more seriously or considering like additive manufacturing, industry 4.0, remote monitoring, all these tools, lights out machining, but they already had that in place before this happened. So I think these shops that are not there and are unable to work, at the capacity they were or want to be, you got to take advantage of that time and technology. Who's to say you're going to ever get those people back? So technology is going to be where you're going to have to, fill that gap on some level. I prefer people, but you got to look at technology more closely. And I think it did pay off for the companies that were doing that beforehand. It's paid off for them.
Absolutely. And that actually you kind of led me a little bit right into my final question for you was, we did a Zoom interview internally with our tech managers. Carolyn, you might have posted it online. I can't recall.
Yeah, it's on our YouTube. Mm-hmm.
Okay, but it came up, and I alluded to this earlier that, a lot of my job and some of our other colleagues is being on site, and my bosses said, don't think that anything's going to change. People aren't just going to open up their doors and be like, sure, come on in. Like everything's all, honky dory, or that's probably an Indiana thing. Sorry.
No, I love that. I love honky dory. I like honky dory.
But, so it came up as, Carolyn had made a good point in that conversation, some facilities are just dead zones. And I've been in some facilities where you can't get any cell service. So we thought, is your company prepared for that? But I had raised the question, are you, we want to give virtual support, but our company's prepared to receive it.
Yeah.
So I guess my question to you would be, what would you tell somebody in a tool room who can't maybe bring in a demonstration or a sales rep, but still needs something? There's a service that they need, or maybe they're not used to some of the PPE gear and they have to shift industries. They don't know a lot about it. You still need that technical support.
Yes.
So what would you give somebody in that position?
So as long as they have the internet connection, it's got to be you have to start building virtual relationships, which to me, the past 2 months have proved that I'm doing that. And I can't believe how easy it has been. People that I don't know, I'm literally feeling like I'm building an actual relationship with them. So again, it's coming down to your capabilities of wherever you're working from, and the shops themselves. So I guess if that's the limitation, that's a different discussion. I don't know what the solution is if you can't tap into some virtual conversation and a demo, or you don't have access to like an Amerimold Connects, where we're hoping to give them this whole menu of demos of a way to see technology in action by people using their cell phones and take a video of a demo of a piece of equipment. So it's embracing that virtual environment, which could be tough if you think about the little niche market of mold manufacturing. Even though I'm optimistic about what I've seen the past 2 months, there's still the average age, the average mindset, the traditional shop. And so I guess there could be a big question mark there, but isn't that our job to give them enough to get them excited about, come on, this can work, relax. This is not a serious thing. We just want to have a conversation. We're not selling you. We want to teach you. Just, it's okay if you can't figure out Zoom right away. It's okay. I'll walk you through it. So that's going to be the way.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, we've had a lot of conversations here with all of our technical managers, to, don't say, oh, well, we'll do a trial when this is over. No,
Right.
gotta
No.
try and figure it, just try. We have to try to use Zoom, Skype, FaceTime, anything
Yeah.
to get this going, because like you
Yeah.
said, this isn't going away anytime soon. Brian
Yeah.
said they're not going to open the door and say everything's hunky-dory and you can come in.
No.
So
No.
we have to just,
We
we
have
have to give people that push and just say, hey, let's
Yeah.
just try it. Give it a try.
And it's funny too, because there's the whole human aspect of it too that I keep thinking about. So once we're able to go back and people need their jobs, want their jobs, you're not really going to know how your employees are going to feel about how safe they feel until they're in it. Like, and then you got to deal, our shops are going to have to deal almost with mental health, right? Like, are they okay? Like, are you afraid? Because I want you to be comfortable. So, which means communication, and they have to be open about something that could really make them feel kind of vulnerable. That's the whole other side of productivity, is making your employees feel safe.
Yeah, I even find, not even in the shop, but I even find, like, if I have to, my wife actually goes and does the grocery shopping, but I did have to make a stop once, I think in the last month. And I found myself, like, when somebody's getting close, I was like, mentally, I was like, I know you, but I
right?
what you've been doing. So
Right.
I completely agree with the mentality. I didn't even think about, being on a production line. You've got processor operators, package handlers, all those guys, and so many moving parts that, man, yeah.
I think about trade shows. Are handshakes just gone? Is that just never even going to be a thing anymore? I mean,
we're like throwing our business cards at somebody here.
Yeah, you're right. Flicking them.
Right.
But I think worse than that, I've grown accustomed to this industry, at least at the smaller shows like ours. We are huggers. So that what's going to happen?
Yeah.
Right. I mean, it's sad in a way.
Yeah, it's sad, but like we've said a lot during this, I'm optimistic about the light at the end of this tunnel that we're in right now. I think that something that's very negative, there will be positives out of it.
Yes,
we will
always
have positive things for the industry. It will be a shift. It'll be different, but I think it's going to be good. I really do. So
it could be a way too for the younger generation, that rift between the seasoned and the next. The seasoned, we have a lot to learn from the next in terms of this virtual environment that comes more naturally to them, that maybe that's a whole thing of bringing them together more.
Completely agree. Completely agree. All right. Well, do we have any more questions or comments or anything?
No, this was fun.
Yeah, it was. I feel like I know more about what, Amerimold Connects is, and I learned some things about mold maintenance I didn't know. So that's cool. Always good. And I think that this is a really important conversation, and a conversation that we'll be having again, because it's going to be changing, new ideas, new this, new that. So I think that this is important to have these conversations.
I have to give a shout out to you guys, because I'm sure you've heard that you're part of Tool Shop Live, right?
Yes.
And this is still unfolding how we're doing this, but I guess we should talk about this because it is going to open the show. So Ryan, the publisher, Ryan Delhany and I are going to welcome everyone. And we're going to go right to this environment, because mold maintenance, I mean, it is that mold and maintaining and keeping it running is what connects the entire supply chain, the tool room at the OEM, at the molding facility, and the mold builder. So that's why we're kicking it off. And you guys are part of that. So Mold Tracks, Steve Johnson and Glenn Keith are literally going to hold a proper hot runner mold preventative maintenance. They're going to break down a mold. And all you guys with your technology solutions are all going to get a part. It's still unfolding, like I said, but you're all going to get a part to teach what your solution is on certain steps of the process. And I am so excited about that, because the live event is then going to be recorded. You guys are all submitting your 30-minute deeper dive videos. They're all going to be grouped together. I think it's going to be this I don't know what you want to call it, this hub of mold maintenance that's going to be excellent. So I'm excited. Thank you guys for being part of that, because you're going to help it come to life.
We're super excited. I mean, last year at Amerimold, we were just outside of the tool room live, and the amount of attention that Steve and Glenn garnered around that tool bench, and I think that's the first time a full bench has ever been in a show. That was just, it's cool, and those guys are great, and yeah, I'm very much looking forward to
fun.
being a part of that. And it's cool to hear that it's kicking off. I didn't know
Yep.
that. So
Yes, it's kicking
very
off.
excited. Yeah.
It's gonna be good.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you again, Christina, for giving us your time, your information, and answering our
Thank you
questions.
both.
And like I said, these are important conversations, so we always appreciate you coming to talk with ID Additives about all this stuff. So make sure to hit the subscribe button when you're done watching. ID Additives is trying to get to 1,000 subscribers by the end of 2020, so help us hit our goal. All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Yep.